director had to say about the mass job exodus.
Are you still full speed ahead on mandates for essential workers to get vaccinated?
We believe it is very important to get these people vaccinated. There is a plan, should these people not want to be vaccinated, towards education and counseling to get people the information they need so that they are feeling comfortable in getting vaccinated.
Finally, education, maybe even a brochure. But it's not about getting educated. It's about making our own personal medical decisions, right? But this is just the beginning. The mandates are never going to end. You want proof? The CDC is talking about booster shots. How long till the booster shots are mandatory? Kid shots could be ready as early as next week. Don't tell me they're not going to say, get the jab or don't go to school. Colorado University and other places around the country now forcing all students and staff to get the flu shot. The mandate madness is going to continue unless Americans fight back, and they are. Yesterday, hundreds of people took to the streets of Brooklyn, outside Barclays Center, to support Kyrie Irving. The organizer of the protest was fired Staten Island medical worker John Matlin. I talked with John this morning on Fox and Friends.
So Kyrie is somebody on a big scale that's facing what we, like healthcare workers, teachers, and city workers are now facing. He's just on a very big scale, and he lost his job in a very, very big public eye. This is just a very big picture of what happened to the everyday average person in a superstar format. So this is kind of a springboard to get the message out there in general that these mandates are unjust and are affecting everybody, because some people have been sleeping on it.
And by the way, John told me the Black Lives Matters was out there. Hawk Newsom was there. So this crosses all party lines and ethnic backgrounds. Today, there were more New York City protests. This just a few hours ago. They blocked the Brooklyn Bridge. Citywide mandates got everybody upset. The crowd of people marched across the bridge, blocked it about 11:45. People just don't want to lose their jobs over a shot. They also want their freedom back. So now, joining me now to talk about this is the president of Uniform Firefighters Association of Greater New York, Andrew Ansbro. Andrew, I appreciate you coming down and talking to me.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you're vaccinated, right?
Yes, I am.
So a lot of your guys aren't. A lot of your men and women aren't.
Absolutely.
So what's it going to mean?
It means that on November 1st, the mayor and the commissioner will send home, could be up to 45% of New York City Fire Department.
How do you exist without 45% of the fire department?
Well, I'm telling my members to go to work, stay at work, and when they beg you to come back and get on the rigs, get on the rigs.
You guys are suing in order to not have this mandate.
Absolutely. Today we spent our time preparing the lawsuits.
Now, did they care during the pandemic before the vaccine was come through about your health?
Well, I'm sure you saw the way the CDC changed their story multiple times. Same thing with the fire department. It was you can come back to work after 3 days of no symptoms, 10 days, don't test, get a test. When I took office in August, we were begging the department to test us on a weekly basis.
You had to beg to get tested?
We refused. They refused. It was over a year. Finally, they started a testing program 2 weeks ago, and to their dismay, they found out not many of us were sick. So at that point in time, the testing program ended. And this was a citywide program.
So wait a second. They just started testing you guys a few weeks ago?
A few weeks ago, yes. If this was about our health, the testing would have started last August.
So you doubt the sincerity of this entire program?
I don't think anyone thinks it's sincere at all.
What do you think it's up? What do you think it's about?
This is about the mandate. This is about just getting everyone vaccinated.
Right. Do they realize the ramifications of this? Do they think maybe they're going to lose a handful of men and women?
My members are actually, they're pretty steadfast in their beliefs, and 70% of my members, to my knowledge, have been sick through this. The department, I believe, estimates the number around 60%. But prior to that tests being available, there were thousands of us out at the beginning of the pandemic when tests weren't available. So I put the number about 70% were sick. And when you put that with 45%, 55% of my members vaccinated, I believe most of us are covered. This is a personal choice that everyone wants to make for themselves. And if you're telling me that the vaccine, the vaccine's effectiveness wears off, but also antibodies' effectiveness wear off, why aren't they allowing us to test the antibodies on our members and use that as a level at which you could finally have to get tested?
So if they told you, okay, you're vaccinated, but they go, okay, for the unvaccinated, there's a testing option, you're okay with that?
We would love to keep the testing option.
Right, and you're okay, you would love to see an antibody test?
Absolutely. The department has actually been giving us antibody tests since last year. So they already have antibody information on a lot of our members. At this point in time, they're refusing to use it as a method to give us an exemption. They're
looking out for you. If you're vaccinated, it's more likely you're not going to get sick and you're not going to spread the virus to the vaccinated and unvaccinated. What do you say to that?
Well, right now we find that a healthy portion, well, healthy is not a good word, probably half of our members that are currently sick are vaccinated. The other half that are infected are unvaccinated. I myself was vaccinated on the first day. My wife was vaccinated. We let our guard down, went to a concert. My wife got sick. 5 days later, I got sick. We were vaccinated. We had mild symptoms. But again, I have not talked to a single firefighter that's been sick for a second time that had bad symptoms.
And what's your message to people watching right now? What's your message to the Biden administration?
Well, we're not anti-vax. We're anti-mandate. No one wants this rammed down their throat. The Biden administration, I understand the president made a statement the other day. I hope he can walk that back. I hope he doesn't believe that first responders should be fired without the city or the municipality coming to the table and dealing direct with the affected unions, because we have a lot of good points that are backed by science. And this plan with the testing, with the vaccination plan, it works. They only allowed it to go 2 weeks, and then they stopped it, I feel, because it wasn't working for them.
Politicians getting in the way. And 1 minute you're a hero, the next minute we don't need you. That's got to hurt.
Yeah, people were a lot nicer when they thought we were their only hope. And now that the pandemic is kind of over, we're looked at as disposable at this point.
EMTs too?
EMTs, yes. The city is going to be a very different place on November 1st if things don't change.
Andrew, I appreciate you coming in. I know you had a busy day with the protest.
Very busy, yes. I wasn't at the protest. I was in the lawyer's office all day. I understand there were a lot of my members there. There were a lot of police, sanitation. There were a lot of city workers of all types at that protest today.
Yeah, don't give up. Keep fighting.
Absolutely.
File the suit in Staten Island. Hopefully
Yes.
get a friendly judge. Also here tonight, nationally syndicated radio host, author Dana Loesch. Dana, what's your reaction to Andrew's story?
I'm speechless, and I think he made a really good point, Brian, when he said that we went from being the nation's heroes to being disposable. And that's kind of how it was. Everybody was applauding first responders, and everyone was talking about their heroism and continuing to go out there and do their jobs in the midst of this, of a pandemic that nobody knew a lot about with the virus. And then now we're treating them, and by we, I mean the administration and the people who are surrogates for the administration. They're acting like they're devils, and they're being selfish simply because they're opposing a mandate. And I'm so tired, Brian. I'm so tired of people conflating the two. That having questions or being against a mandate does not make somebody anti-vax. And kudos to these firefighters, these EMTs, these first responders for doing this. And I tell you, any city that would risk the staffing of their firefighters, their police and EMTs during a time when crime is rising in the middle of a still ongoing pandemic, they say, I have to question if they're serious about science or statistics.
If this was a private business, you'd never do that. You wouldn't bring your business to its knees when 70-80% are vaccinated. You don't hand them a brochure and say you got 1 week to decide if you want to be fired or not and blow up your career. It's just not the way it's done. It's done if you're a lofty politician, arrogant, looking down, not understanding, and pretending, Dana, as if you do understand. Keep in mind, too, many are minorities that are choosing not to get vaccinated. So is the President of the United States going to blow up the foundation of his election win?
That's the $1 million question, right? I mean, Democrats are kind of at an impasse here, and all of these people, the vax bullies, the virus vax bullies specifically, are at an impasse here because there's some real legitimate historical justification for the hesitation of certain minority groups in the United States where it concerns government mandated new vaccine or experimentation like this. And I mean, that's just God's honest truth. And instead of trying to make people feel more comfortable about this decision, targeting them and trying to smear them, carrying out this like defamation campaign against people in the United States. That's not how this government should be doing it. They should just be answering questions and making people feel comfortable. Or you know what, Brian, just at the very least, have a OSHA allowed to record some of this stuff. If there is any kind of adverse reaction, have OSHA maybe be able to record, make people feel at ease with consistency. Science is consistent, Brian. Politics isn't.
Great point, Dana. I would love to see the general practitioners get the vaccine. Those are the people we're used to talking to on medical decisions, big and small, not politicians jamming it down their throats, telling us we got 10 days to make a decision and we could only make one decision, and that's to agree with them. Dana Loesch, thanks so much.
Exactly.
All right. Meanwhile, coming up on this show, you're going to love this story. The NBA's biggest unwritten rule: don't criticize China.